Hi, my name is Gabby Guzman. I was here in 2004.
Gabby, when you come to campus, it's been a long time since you were here. When you come to campus, describe some of the emotions and some of the memories you
Oh
have.
my gosh. So every time I drive to campus, I think about how nervous I was when I first came. I also think about some happy moments that I spent with some of my peers. And I mean, it's just a rush of all kinds of emotions, but ultimately, I'm always happy to be back.
How did you feel the first time you came here?
The first time I came here, I was extremely nervous. I think this might have been the first group home that I ever went to. So I wondered what it was going to be like, what kind of people I was going to come across. So I was definitely nervous. I was afraid. I was apprehensive. Just didn't know what to expect.
Describe to us the circumstances that happened that brought you ultimately to Youth for Tomorrow.
So I was at Youth for Tomorrow because both of my parents were immigrants. And ultimately, my father ended up getting deported because of alcohol issues that he had and a little bit of domestic violence. Once he was deported, my mother was left with 5 children. And at that point, she didn't have the resources to sustain us. She wasn't able to control our bad behavior because at that point, we were just kind of lashing out, me and my 5 sisters. So we ended up in the state's custody, and we were all placed in foster care, different group homes, and kind of separated out. And I ended up here at Youth for Tomorrow.
And what was your initial impression of Youth for Tomorrow, and when did you realize this might be a real good place for you at that time in your life?
So when I came to campus, again, I was 13 years old. I was petrified. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. So at first, it was like I was scared. But then when I arrived and I started to meet some of the staff that did such an amazing job in making me feel comfortable, making me feel welcome, little by little, I kind of liked this place. And what I really liked about it was the structure. I mean, I never had, both parents. When my dad was home, he really wasn't home. I mean, he was out drinking and stuff like that. So having 2 parents in the house it was new to me and I enjoyed it.
As your time here progressed, what are some of the things you learned, and who are some of the people that you think back of were important to you?
So definitely my house parents, because first of all, they were just genuinely really nice people. And they did treat me like a daughter. They had their own kids here, so it was as if they had invited me into their home. And regardless of all the bad things that I said to them, they continued to care for me. And coming from a home where, although my parents wanted to do so much for us, they couldn't. So they weren't able to show us the affection that our house parents at Youth for Tomorrow were now showing me. So they were so influential, as well as people like Ms. Jones, Ms. Jones was everywhere. And it was just so nice to see her face, and she had such a beautiful spirit, again, and these are things that I wasn't accustomed to growing up. So having her, just walking and seeing her in the hallway was just so beautiful for me, and Dr. Jones was also always there for me. And it's funny because he's the CEO, right? So normally people don't have too much access to those kind of people. But I remember just walking into Dr. Jones' office and asking him questions, and he was always there, and always welcome us into his office. And I remember one time I was in school and I didn't feel well, and I saw Dr. Jones, and I'm like, Dr. Jones, I'm so sick. And he's like, oh no, what's going on? And he was such a fatherly figure. And again, for most of us coming into these situations, we don't have that. So having him just care and ask questions, it's like, wow, So it was just so amazing, being a part of Youth for Tomorrow and experiencing something different that I had never
Changed your life.
a part of before. Absolutely.
Changed your life. And as you look back on it, what kind of pride, what are your thoughts because we'll talk about what you're doing now. You've come a long, long way since you worked on the campus here for the very first time. But what are your thoughts as you reflect?
So back then, I was happy to have the experience of like having a home and having, that structure. So I realized it, but I didn't know how important it was until now, and even into my college years. I realized how important it was to have someone that will take you to school and to encourage you to do your work. It was important for me to go to the dining hall and sit and have a dinner with, ultimately like what I consider my sisters, the other girls there. Having that structure and having, again, the people who care was so important. And I didn't realize the value of it until now when I am, an adult and I have my own son and I'm able to carry those experiences of like that structure, the family environment, and carry that over to him. So I'm so thankful for that. And again, just having people that ask you questions and are there for you, until today. So I'm so thankful for that.
Tell us about your post YFT education, because you've accomplished a lot.
Yeah, so ultimately my goal is to go to law school. But first, I ended up going to a community college, Northern Virginia Community College. It was a tumultuous ride, but I managed to get through. I mean, at that point, I had my son and I was working many jobs and trying to go to school and be a young parent to my son. But I pushed through. I ended up being accepted to George Mason University. And there I studied philosophy, and I was just so intrigued by everything that I was reading. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I need to go to law school. I graduated from George Mason University. I did some graduate work at George Mason University as well. And I'm hoping to apply to law school in September.
Well, like I said, you've accomplished a lot. And I think, I don't know how the timing worked out, but you're probably aware of some of the new programs that YFT has started, like the Mommy and Me program. You might have missed that by a couple of years, and some of the other satellite offices. So what are your thoughts on the growth of this fantastic institution?
I cannot tell you how genuinely happy I am that, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I did not think I was going to get emotional. I'm just proud of Youth for Tomorrow, and this is why, to this day, I've stuck to the program. And I actually interviewed earlier to be a mentor because I appreciate so much of what Youth for Tomorrow has done for kids like myself, who have been in unfortunate situations, and it was totally out of their control. And they were given this situation, and now they have to deal with it. So here comes Youth for Tomorrow, and it's like, here is a home for you. Here are resources. Here are people. So the fact that it's expanded so much to include young mothers, to include children that have been picked up at the border, and just offered more beds to students or kids in need, I am so appreciative of that. And again, that is why I decided to be a mentor, because I want to do my part and I want to give back and be there for kids that are, in the situation that I was once in. So I am super proud of everything that they have accomplished.
We've talked to a couple of your classmates from your time here, and you saw a couple of pictures of them. When you see those pictures, I guess you may like your sisters, right?
Yes, I am extremely proud of, like you said, the people, the faces that I see, and the fact that we can sit here now and talk about the success that we've had since Youth for Tomorrow, really because of Youth for Tomorrow. So I am so proud to see them and hear the stories and learn that despite everything we've endured, we've made it, and I'm just so proud of everyone.
Last question, and you're in a specific position in your life now, considering what you do for a living and some of the things you moved into. What advice would you give to a 14, 15-year-old girl who might find themselves in the same position you found yourself in back in the mid-2000s?
I would tell them that I know they don't believe it right now. I know they don't. But everything will be okay, but only if you make it that way. You are in charge of the choices you make, and you'll get through it. You'll get through it. Take it one step at a time. Everything will be okay.